Okay, it's 5:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Tonight, we are trying some new equipment for the Facebook broadcast of the commission meeting, so the volume and the quality of the broadcast should be much better. With that, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Commissioners, have you had a chance to review the agenda?
I have.
Do you have any modifications or additions?
I do not.
I have none, Mayor.
Okay, with that, then I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
I second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Appointments, Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals has one expired term. Applications are still being received until April 30th. Next item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Items for commission action. Consider adopting a resolution setting the date of June 25th, 2020 for condemnation of a fire damaged structure located at 801 East Birch Street as dangerous and unsafe. David, would you present, please?
Mayor, this house was involved in a structure fire. It was vacant at the time of the fire. The east wall was where the fire, this was an arson fire. The fire was started on the outside. It breached the east wall and traveled into the attic, doing considerable damage structurally to that wall and in the attic. As I was figuring out, this house has recently exchanged hands and is under a new owner. They traded some vehicles and et cetera. So what is in your packet is not the owner of the property. It has not all been filed with the county yet or caught up, but I have spoke to them. They are diligently going to begin repairs, and he is hoping by June 20th he will be close to completion of those repairs, or if not, he will provide us a timeline from that point on. But he understands what we're doing and why we're doing it. I give him credit because if you'd been by there before, there was a metal fence up and it was just full of trash, vehicle parts, and he's already done a great job of getting the yard cleaned up, getting that fence down. He's boarded up the house. So, I mean, he is working hard, and I think he will eventually get this house fixed because he would like to live there. So, but I do recommend we can move forward with the hearing set for June 25th.
Okay, so he does understand
Yes.
the procedure and,
Yes.
okay, good. Commissioners, got any questions?
I do not.
I do not.
Good. Okay, with that, then I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we move to adopt a resolution setting the date of June 25th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. for a public hearing to consider condemnation of the fire damaged structure at 801 East Birch Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is reconsider the requirement for brick and mortar to qualify for the emergency grant fund. in this, it's, if you'll remember, the application identified brick and mortar businesses. So the discussion on this item is regarding that reference. Kelly, do you want to explain?
Yes, we had a business apply that actually was a food truck, and when the committee met, it was, some of them felt that that was a restaurant type, and others felt like that the commission had set that as a expectation that it had to be a bricks and mortar with a permanent address. And so they did not approve the grant, but they wanted to go back to the commission and confirm that that is what their intention was, to provide that limitation to just the bricks and mortars with a permanent address.
Okay. As you recall, when we were trying to come up with the guidelines, and you can see them in the RCA, generally what was agreed upon. One thing that, due to the urgency of getting the grant program established, we didn't go back and review a lot. I know we discussed the type of businesses, hospitality, and I think we did even discuss food truck industry, and we used the brick and mortar business. This is my understanding, to identify the type of establishments. So at this time, I'll open it up to commissioners' explanation, comments of your understanding, your understanding of the brick and mortar statement in the qualifications. So, Commissioner Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of my understandings of brick and mortar, as we had defined it, is that these are the businesses that have, to some degree, more at stake or a lot at risk in that they have made a substantial investment within the city. They maintain a certain amount of overhead costs associated with their brick and mortar location, including property taxes and city utilities, and therefore they were probably most at risk and most then worthy of consideration for a grant of this nature.
Okay. Commissioner Ususi, what was your understanding?
Right, that was my understanding, because of why we set it up as bricks and mortar, basically to what Commissioner Hayes has already stated. Because of overhead, generally those businesses will employ several people, especially the hospitality. And then those businesses were affected when the order came down that there was a limit of less than 10 people, which basically ended any type of restaurant dine-in service for a lot of these places. And it's hard to continue to make up that kind of revenue if you're just offering curbside or delivery pickup. And nothing against food trucks. I visit food trucks and I order food from there from time to time, but they were not under those restrictions because they were still able to operate and to provide the business, and they still operate today. But that was the purpose as far as what we discussed and what we had agreed upon. So, and you know, I'll make one other statement. When you look at this community, any community, there isn't anyone that has not been affected by this in one way or another. And I understand that. But there are also limited resources that we have, and we can't reach out and actually touch everyone that's been affected by this. You know, I'll be glad when I can go and get a haircut, because if this don't come before too long, I'm afraid I may have to start wearing a hat or something. But those will come back because I've got to get a haircut. I need to go get a haircut somewhere. That'll come back. So I think that was what our intent was when we had talked about it, and that was my understanding of it.
Okay. I think then what we can say, we're all in consensus that the intent of brick and mortar business is actually a business that is located in a permanent structure on a legally defined parcel of land that's related to that building. A lot of verbiage, but we're talking that they're in a building, basically. So, and it wasn't not recognizing the other businesses being important, but just with the funds and the timing that this is the type of businesses that were defined. Also, in our RCA, it describes the discussion that was held regarding applicants that we had defined would be a resident within Montgomery County. And I think my understanding when we identified and were locating it, that we were trying to look at local businesses.
Local ownership, right?
Right. And in the trying to eliminate corporate-owned or out-of-state businesses, that our grant could be used to our local business people to help relieve them from some of the loss that they were incurring. And it was brought out that with the applications that dealt with business owners that lived out of town, that it didn't follow the criteria that we established. And my understanding was it followed the intent of our grant, but it did not follow the actual criteria. And I think when we have applications, it's very important that we follow all the requirements established. And I think this is one of the things that happens. It's a result of us being in a hurry, trying to put some direction that we could reach our local businesses, but in the selection of wording, maybe we weren't quite as accurate as we should have been in a couple cases. So I want the commissioners to be aware of this, and you can also express your opinion. And in any sense, I think it's something that we need to go back to the whole process and look at redefining or clarifying, so that if we do go to another application process, that we will have better defined and eliminated any issues like this that could have occurred. But you know, I think our intentions were clear, but in the haste to get the grant program, because basically this was put together in a week. Well, not basically, it was put together in 1 week and was out the door Friday for applications. Monday, the applications were to be in at 5 o'clock. Tuesday afternoon, we reviewed the applications. And Kelly, can you tell us the schedule for the release of the funds? Is that?
She's actually processing those now and plans to release those tomorrow.
Okay. So, you know, we've had a really quick turnaround to reach our businesses and to help shore them up, and we're fortunate that we were able to do this at all. So commissioners, Commissioner Yususi, do you have comments regarding?
Well, from what you've indicated here, it was a quick turnaround. And sometimes in developing a program like this, there are some things that don't get addressed, and they only come to the front after the program is implemented. We understand that. But our intent was to get the businesses that would be able to, that would qualify, and to get this funding out to them as soon as possible. Are you considering maybe revisiting some of these issues that we've faced with this particular program and reevaluating it, and maybe another consideration? I'm curious as to what Commissioner Hayes and your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, well, my thought is, we don't know the future. We don't know how long this will last. If this ever occurs a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, and if there are funds in the Economic Development Fund for us to consider this again, we shouldn't wait till that crisis to have everything defined. That we've seen issues with this go-around, so now is the time to go back with the Economic Development Advisory Committee and say, okay, now let's put some thought, let's redefine, look at what we've done, and let's see how we can clarify and define the direction better, you know, with the applications. Do we want to add definition sections? Do we want to have different types of grant programs that could be issued? But just, you know, let's prepare for the next event and hope we never have to use it. That was my thought.
Indeed, those types of guidelines would be instructive for any commission in the future as they have to address this emergency, or maybe a weather event, or, you know, anything that might impact us broadly within the community, and understanding those guidelines. The role of, or the goal of identifying local ownership was to keep the money local as well, so that those people who were impacted would not likely invest it in some entity outside, but would put it back into the business that resides here in Independence. That way, I believe, has been achieved with our current grant distribution. Future grant distributions, if we want to think more broadly, or even subdivide this group that we're looking at here into service sector, or retail sector, or some other division of these types of businesses, so that we can be more targeted with future grants, does make a lot of sense.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we should meet with the Economic Advisory Board and give instructions to look at options and redefining the grant for future use.
I'm in favor of that.
You know, I'm in agreement with that also.
We had a joint meeting with the Economic Advisory Board scheduled for April 7th, but due to the pandemic, we canceled that meeting. So we do have that opportunity as soon as things return to a sort of normal, that we will do that. So Kelly, could you make a note that this be kind of one of the topics we discuss at the joint meeting, and maybe let Chairman Goode know what we're talking about? And
Do you want me to go ahead and just tentatively schedule that for the first Tuesday in May, and then if we need to adjust, we can, and we can do a virtual meeting if we need to?
let's go ahead and schedule that
Okay.
for May. I'd really like to have a meeting that we can sit down and meet one-on-one. If it has to be virtual,
That would be
The-
May 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
okay. Okay, that's a good day then.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, any other comments before we move on?
I'd just like to once again reinforce that a big vote of gratitude to the Economic Development Advisory Board for the quick action that they've had and the substantial relief that this will be granting to the businesses of Independence.
Good.
Yes. Go ahead.
Can I get confirmation that you're okay with the ones that were outside the county, but within, not very far out, to go ahead and grant them those checks? Is that okay?
Or,
Do you want a vote of ratification?
I think it would
Is
be
that what you're
good
asking for?
Yeah.
to confirm that, because I did find another one today. They're both owners reside in Neodesha, and
Is the list that's in front of us complete then? I have a list
Yes.
including 72 businesses.
yes, that's the ones that were awarded. The ones in yellow, we're waiting for some additional information, so those are on hold.
so,
And the information that is short on those two businesses is, if it's provided in its entirety, they will be granted the monies.
If it's provided and meets the mission of having retail sales or verifying retail sales.
Okay. So what motion would you like to hear from us?
I would suggest something about it being locally owned in the southeast Kansas area. I don't know if you want to define that better, or within a certain
Or-
mile radius, or Montgomery County.
To simplify that, we could, I was ready to make a motion to ratify the listing
That would be fine as well.
that's in front of us and not get into a lot of going backwards into the language of the grant.
Yeah, that would be fine. I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear, so we were being transparent about what was going on.
Thank you.
so this time then I'll call for a motion.
I move that we accept the granted, excuse me, let me start over. I move that we accept the list of businesses qualifying for the emergency grant that is presented to us this evening in its entirety, with the possible exception of two that have pending additional information.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Would like to also thank the Economic Advisory Commission or Board for their work, and sitting in on the review, watching the board members interact and discuss the applicants. I heard good discussion. They, each member expressed their concerns, and they worked together very well. I hate to see a group, when they're tasked with something like this, that they feel that they can't express their opinion and their ideas and direction, and the members work very well together in being open to each other and receiving the input from one another. So I think they did an excellent job in reaching out to our business owners. So with that, we will move on to reports. First report is the Rec Commission minutes. Are there any comments or questions regarding their minutes?
I have none.
I have none, Mayor.
Next is item B, 2020 census update.
Mayor and Commissioners, with everything going on, I just don't want us to lose sight of the census. It's more important now than it ever was. This is going to affect us for the next 10 years, and we're going to need all the funds, federal funds that we can get into the community. I checked some stats today, and for Kansas, the response rate is right at around 50%. I know it's hard to see on that. I took the census tract and I overlaid it over the city map so you can kind of see, this is what they call a low response score. And basically, the lower that is, the better it is. So that's the percent that they have trouble getting responses from. And then you can kind of see what areas of the city that maybe we need to work on getting that message out. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And we are working with Joanne on some social media. We're talking about doing a flyer that has some census information and also maybe some of the, healthy tips on our pandemic crisis as well, kind of a double message there. And because not everybody has social media, I do have, I'm working on some slides for the Access channel, receive some resources from the Census Bureau that we can do some videos and things. And so I just don't want to lose focus of the census and the importance of that.
Okay. Charlotte just reminded me again this morning that I have failed to complete my census report, so.
We did ours and it took 5 to 7 minutes. I mean, it didn't take hardly any time. It's very simple and easy, and actually easier than it's ever been because you can do it with your phone or whatever, and it's very easy and quick, so.
So that's on my list of to-dos. Okay, well, thank you.
Yep.
COVID-19 emergency preparedness update.
And council, little update. I know we update you gentlemen every day as part of our emergency planning, just for the community. We have 13 COVID positive cases in Montgomery County. 3 of those are not counted at the state level because they are residents outside of the state of Kansas, but they are in Montgomery County at this time and quarantined here with COVID. We continue to push our message, Mayor, and I think one thing that we would like to visit with the council tonight and encourage people, there's a little bit of a political debate in the state of Kansas right now over gatherings at church. This is a holiday weekend and Easter, but as a committee, the emergency planning for the city, we encourage people to social distance, groups less than 10, and follow the president's recommendation. We sadly have had 2 deaths in our own community from that sort of type of an event, and we want to keep this down as much as possible. So we're just continuing urging our community to social distance. We know it's tough. We know it's a holiday weekend. We're encouraging people to stay home. Families always get together during these times, but this is such a contagious virus. It is so easy to catch. You don't realize you have it, often for 3 to 5 days. During those 3 to 5 days, you are contagious and you can pass it on to other people, and that just multiplies so quickly, and we could have a lot of people ill. We also want to remind people the peak for Kansas is still about 10 days away. Towards the end of April is when they're expecting this really to peak in Kansas. You can have seen both Labette and CRMC, the hospitals in the county, have both talked about their preparedness, how they've made room for extra beds in preparation. It's like we talked before, Mayor, that we see the tsunami coming. We are praying and hoping it only laps our ankles, but as you gentlemen dealt with earlier, the financial impact, if it just slaps our ankles or whether we get waist deep in it, but it's going to take everybody's effort to avoid this. I can tell you we are prepared. We have plenty of PPE. Our people are prepared, but it is taking a toll on them. A A lot of them have families, are staying away from their families, trying to prevent that from happening. And they have in the back of their minds, the fear of, we have transported 4 of those cases in our ambulances. And so, it does take a mental toll on them. So we're working with our staff, city employees, police department constantly, just keeping the morale of the employees up, and as they see this tsunami coming at them here pretty soon. So I don't know if you have specific questions. I do appreciate, as you said, Mayor, the work of those people on the committee outside of the city. And I'll probably forget some names, but Lisa Wilson, Tabitha, Tricia Perdun, Jerry from the library, Joanne Smith, Jim Kelly is a part of us. He provides us a government update every day. Those people do a tremendous job of helping us with the businesses, giving us good messaging, leadership of Kelly that she provides each and every day from the city, the mayor, your input each and every day, and the rest of the council. We appreciate. So if you have any questions, Mayor, I guess my only request would be just asking the commission to continue to urge people to social distance and not gather in large groups.
Yeah, it's tragic when something like this becomes political, and I'm not trying to make a political issue of it, but
Yeah,
this is real.
yes,
People are getting sick, people are dying. One thing that I keep hearing where the numbers haven't reached the modeling wherever they are in the country, they're saying social distancing is working. And that is restricting the numbers.
Yeah.
Every place has restricted numbers, followed the president's recommendation, and he's not making this up on his own. Our governor received advice from her counselors, and I think for us here that we still want to recommend that you restrict gatherings to less than 10, understanding that that's going to put some strains on tradition and style, but it's essential that we prevent the virus from getting a foothold in the community. And it spreads so easy that, like you mentioned, that there are some people that don't show signs of the infection, the virus, but they still spread. So you don't know what is around, and the only way is during this time to restrict contact with others to limit the spread. And so, I'm sitting in on the meetings, the staff is putting a lot of thought into each department, how it affects their employees and how they react with the community. And I think we get careless as time goes on and start taking it for granted that, well, it's not going to happen. But if we don't see an outbreak, that's probably because we didn't get close. We followed social distancing. We stayed apart. We took precaution, and we didn't get together in groups. That's why it's not here. That's why it's not worse than the 13 cases and the 2 fatalities. It's tragic, but I just want to encourage everyone to follow the guidelines, sanitize, clean, protect yourself. Commissioners?
David, can you speak to efforts to help our at-risk population get the things they need? I understand there's a community delivery service. Is there any other types of services out there that the citizens of Independence can take advantage of that you're aware of?
Yes, Commissioner. Apart from early on with the group, we assigned April Lacey and Lisa Wilson to this effort. They are working with the local food bank. The Methodist Church, Vic Gorman, is providing a service to the community. There is a phone number if you go to the Independence Action page where you can contact that service, especially for our older population that does not want to get out. This service will take down their food order, they will go do the shopping for them, and they will get those packages to them, helping to protect them from getting into an area where they could contract the virus. We also encourage those, because we have a lot of people that are unemployed right now, those families that are in trouble, to contact those numbers, contact the chamber, different, and we will get information to the groups and get food delivered to them, or make sure we get food from the food bank to our citizens to take care of them. We know this is a tough time. We know finances are hard, especially for those that are unemployed at this time because of furloughs and layoffs. So our group daily, the mayor can tell you, we discuss how we can assist and making sure we are providing that assistance. And I know, Commissioner, you helped deliver some of those packages. And you might know some of those numbers that I can't remember off the top of my head that people can call to get that assistance. But we want to make sure everybody is taken care of.
They can find those numbers on the city website.
Yeah, yes. I think that's pretty much, did I get everything covered? Kelly, did I miss?
Becky Mitchell's also on that committee
Yes,
with Labette, and she is a huge asset.
Yeah, I knew I'd forget something. Becky Mitchell brings us the update from Labette Health every day, which is very vital because we transport different patients. We transported a patient last night. It's what we call a presumptive positive. This patient had all the symptoms, but until we get that test back, which a test was ran, that patient's what we call presumptive, so he isn't on the list that's out today of the 13 until we know, and that's usually anywhere from 48 hours to 72 hours before we know. So there's that constant communication going on between us, Labette. We are working hand in hand with Labette and each and every day to make sure we get everybody taken care of.
So the delivery service will also bring medication from
Yes.
or prescription medication and other things like
Yes.
that, as well as food, correct?
Correct. If you need something and you don't want to get out of your house, call that number and we will Vic will make sure to get the arrangements made that we get you taken care of. So I would encourage people, the older population, especially those at risk, that do not want to get out, especially over these next 10 to 14 days, please call that number, visit with the group. There's somebody answering that phone during the day. I believe the Methodist Church also does meals on Saturday that people can stop by and pick up at their center. And I think it's kind of come on a first-served basis till they run out, but there are meals there too. The Meals on Wheels has also kind of ramped up their services, and they're providing more frozen meals for the Meals on Wheels participants, trying to make sure that they are taken care of during this difficult time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David, I just want to reinforce what you said. We haven't reached the peak here in the state of Kansas. As long as we continue to follow the guidelines and do what we need to do, the sooner we will come out of this.
Yes.
We will come out of this and we can reduce the numbers of infections that we have and limit the exposure and the transference of this COVID-19. So now's the time not to relax. Follow the guidelines, do what we need to do, and this will run its course. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, we will, even the projections that they're showing us, we have a chance, not only as a community, but as a state, to see those numbers continue to drop.
Yes.
And that's what we want to see, so we don't overwhelm our system, because we all have limits here. So yes, be steadfast and continue to do what we do, and we'll get out of this, and we'll be better off for it. Just don't let up now. We've already this far into it. Let's keep going on and get through this month, and we'll see what the other side looks like.
I totally agree, Commissioner Ususi. The one thing I will say, too, people often tell us, well, it's just flu. And I can tell you from the patients we have transported, these people are sick, very, very sick. And it's unlike any flu they have ever had. Of course, 2 of the people we transported did not make it, but I can tell you, you do not want this. True, 85% of the people that do get it survive it, but I think you can watch the news reports speaking to those people. This is not a flu that you want to get. Very painful, very difficult to get through, and I mean, there's a reason why we're encouraging people to distance, stay at home, and avoid these large groups. Very contagious, and you get very sick. So,
Okay.
thank you, Commission, and we appreciate your support in this effort.
Well,
Thank you, David.
Thank you,
for
David.
your update. Next item on the agenda is the emergency grant update. We did discuss that with item B. Is there anything, Kelly, you'd like to?
I think we pretty well covered it.
Okay. Okay, with that, then the next item on our agenda is the city manager's comments.
I just want to echo how proud I am of our staff. They've all done a great job. There's a lot making really great sacrifices, especially the ones that actually have to move into the building to protect their families. A lot of our employees are doing jobs they don't normally do. We've had to move them around to make everything work, and you know, they don't complain. They're all doing it. They're doing a great job. And I really appreciate what our employees are doing, and then the support we've gotten from the community and others has been outstanding as well. So I just wanted to put that out there, and from the governing body, of course. And on our dumpster program, I wanted to let you know the next date to put out dumpsters, April 11th, and these are the locations that I have on the PowerPoint. We also have that on our Facebook and also on the cable access channel. And I also wanted to give a shout out. Ann Miller is making us some masks, which is very appreciated. Our non-emergency employees that work within 6 feet of each other, they need some kind of protection, and this will get us started on that. I've also ordered some bandanas for them because they need multiple copies so they can, different ones so they can keep them washed and sanitized. But I mean, any help we can get in that way, it's very much appreciated. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Great. Recycling, it wasn't open the first Saturday, but
They're doing it on Tuesdays, the
Tuesdays.
11 to 1, but it's unmanned. So they have a place and you can just drop it off, and then the employees can come after the people are gone and then handle it so that they're not making contact with people.
okay.
So that's how they're doing that, but they're not doing the Saturdays, they're just doing the Tuesdays 11 to 1.
So the first Saturday of May, will it be closed then also?
As far as I know, I'll double check, but until we get through this, they had suspended the Saturdays, and
Okay.
we're just concentrating on the Tuesdays. You know, with all the things going on, we've been a little short-staffed, so, you know, that way we keep it going Tuesdays, and we're not having to try to pull other people if we're short. And then also there's, you know, just to protect the people, make sure they don't have contact employees with the citizens and things like that.
Right, okay. So unmanned Tuesday, you just drop it off?
Yes.
Staff will sort it?
Yes,
For now, no recycling the 1st of May.
yes,
First weekend of May, no recycling.
right.
Okay, great. Someone had questioned Saturday that they had the recycling, and I thought Tuesday was open
Yeah.
still, so.
Tuesday's a go, and for not right now, Saturday's a no-go.
Okay, great. Okay. Next item, Commissioner comments. Commissioner Yususi?
I just want to go back. I know the Community Access Center, Chris Mitchell there, I know they're taking applications for food. They're getting first-time people that have never filled out an application that are needing food. And his promise is if there is a need for food, we will find a way to get it to you. We have delivery for those that are unable to come and pick up the food. But we also have it set up to where they can drive up and there's not face-to-face contact. It's all done, because the building is closed to the public. Only the workers that deal with the Community Access Center are allowed into the facility. So if there's a need for food, if they call the Community Access Center, they will find a way to get food items to you. So.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hayes?
Well, I'd just like to take a moment this evening to elevate a citizen's concern. As we have so many things going on right now, one of the things that is happening is there is road construction in close to the city, and that has rerouted some traffic, including some of the construction vehicles and heavier traffic down to Oak Street, perhaps, and other city streets. Just be careful out there. Watch for those big trucks moving through, and if you see something, say something. If there's unsafe activity, please call the police department and let them know what you see, so that if there's speeding or other types of unsafe activity, the city can know about it and respond to it. I was downtown working last week and was witness an unsafe act by a semi and tractor trailer, and I'm hopeful that we can get control of that so that no one gets hurt.
Okay. And the only thing I have is, I know our special use sales tax is coming to sunset, and we'll be looking at possibly renewing it. And I would like to see at our next work session that we could have time to kind of brainstorm, bring up to date the process that we'll be going through. Kind of just, I don't want to go through a detailed review of the last 10 years, but look at what's been done and look at how we can use the funds to present to the public. It will need to go up for renewal. We have some bond issues that are being funded. It's a good source of revenue that we can do streets and other projects through the 10-year period. So, you know, but I think it's critical that we look at how we can use the funds to address the needs of the city. And I think, commissioners, each of you have seen different things, different ideas that we can share with staff and see if we can tweak the bond to accomplish more. I think we've heard with our quality of life programs, our buildings that were funded early, that now we're looking at maintenance. So set up, you know, some projects in that we can look at continuing on. I know Kelly has shared with Memorial Hall the expenses. What is every 5 years the curtains for the auditorium, the fireproofing has to be evaluated. The flies, yeah, the pull. There's so much maintenance that you don't realize it until it's time to address that issue, and the cost is overwhelming. She shared some quotes, and it's like, you know, now we have an opportunity to look at this fund and budget into these. So instead of being reactionary, we can be prepared and plan ahead of time. So I'd like to see if we could discuss this at a work session. Kind of roughly, if Kelly, if I remember right, you said by June we need to have this put together that we can submit it to get it on to our November
Yes,
ballot.
everything would need to be done so you can adopt the documents to get to the county clerk by June.
So that's all that I have, and so if we could address that at our next work session. If there's no other commissioner comments, we haven't had any public concerns brought to us. The next item on the agenda is an executive session, and I make a motion, or I move that we recess for an executive session for review and discussion of city manager applications pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception, KSA 75-4319B1. The open meeting will resume at 6:30 in the Civic Center. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Okay. We're back in session, and there's no action taken from executive session. So before I ask for adjournment, I'd like to just remind everyone to be safe. If you have any questions regarding COVID-19, you're welcome to call City Hall, visit with Kelly and David, and they'll give you all the information that you need, explain what's been discussed tonight, and also give you recommendations for sanitizing your house and being safe moving about when you have to get out in public. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion concerning adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carrying. Meeting adjourned.